On this episode, we wanted to highlight Braden with Nashville Restaurant Radio. If you're interested in the Nashville food scene, this is the podcast for you. Braden has some of the most influential people in the Nashville restaurant community on his show. So check it out. Follow him on Instagram at Nashville Restaurant Radio. Welcome to another episode of the Nashville Dads. For this episode, we have on Braden Gall from 440 Media. We talk about social media and its effect on society, lots of stories about parenting during the pandemic, how we started his company 440 Media, and kids farting. This was very casual, and there's a bit of cursing in it in case you have kids in the room. We hope you enjoy.
Sorry, we should just start the interview at this point.
No, so look, I've already pressed record. This is literally...
Oh, we're going to do this?
Yeah, no, literally, this is how...
It's great to be here with you guys.
Hey, man. So
3, 2, 1, okay.
And so you have, what do we call it? Professionalism, which we lack. So, Braden, thanks for coming on the podcast. There's your official intro.
Our podcast.
It is so great to be here. First time, long time. How are you guys doing? It's wonderful.
Good. Now back to the discussion we were in the middle of.
What is my cussing barrier? What are my language barriers?
You can do whatever
dirty
you
the
want.
stories can get? What are we talking about here?
You know what? We will talk and we will edit, and then we will see what survives the edit.
Yeah.
You know?
And
that was a great episode. Thanks for being on, Braden.
We say this to every single guest that we have on, but we are not live.
No.
So you say whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with, be yourself, and then we will send you the episode before we put it out.
I don't need that. In fact, I don't want that.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like, it's not,
cool.
I'm a live to tape kind of guy.
Okay,
and,
cool.
The authenticity of people being people is sort of what I think is appealing about what you guys are doing. And I think that's what's interesting.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, our biggest hope is to, just create a place for a dad to come in and be like, hey man, what's your life like? Let's talk about your life and everything. And because honestly, most dads don't get asked the question of, how are you? And it's like, oh, I'm good. And it's like, I'm going to ask it again. How are you? I'm good. I'm going to keep asking until you tell me a different answer.
I am.
How are the gender roles at your house?
Very reversed.
Tell me about it.
So
no, you're right. I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing, because I think you're right. There's not a lot of places for us to, I think honestly, there's a ton of really complicated conversations about like male ego and parenting and professional work. And there's lots of complicated stuff that I don't think we as a society or communities are actually grappling with.
No.
So
I went to Death Cab for Cutie this week and postal
clearly
service.
a dad.
Clearly a dad, yes, like all the other dads there. And I was trying to think of like, why did this music appeal to me so much whenever I was like a teenager? And Ben Gibbard like sings about like emotions from a male perspective. He's like, hey, actually, like a passenger seat is him basically being like to a partner, like, I want to be your backbone when you don't know where your backbone is. I want to guide you when you don't know where your guide is. And I was like, at like 17 or 18, I never heard a man say that, to like ever be like, hey, if you're feeling low, I want to help lift you up. And I'm like, oh, so it took until like 2003 for me to consistently hear a man suggest maybe they could be supportive of another person.
You say 03, I was going to go like 05, 08-ish when we were allowed to have emotions and be vulnerable at the same time.
Yep.
No, I agree. No, it's... I've got nothing to add. Great answer by you. Asked and answered.
Yeah. But it's that reality of like safe spaces, whatever you want to call it, is like we are still coming out of that generation of like whenever we were in our teens, it was like, can I discuss an emotion I had? I can? Is everyone's cool with this? Kind of, I think.
I think it's interesting. Like, and I was thinking about this. We spend so much time as parents, I think, like you fall into the habits of your own childhood and your parents and what they do, but you also like have a very, I don't know about you guys. I'm acutely aware of the things that I not didn't appreciate, but just am doing differently, but also acutely aware of the things I want to make sure carry through from my father and mother to my children. And so, I hope this is the way reality actually is. Yeah. If my parents knew about anxiety, social anxiety disorder, or any of the psychological stuff that we now understand, like, I hope that we're all more evolved than the generation before. I know, yes, absolutely. My kids would lose a world war. Yeah. They are soft. They would lose the war, but they are far more evolved than we were, and certainly more evolved than my parents were, and certainly more evolved than my grandparents, who had to go fight in an actual world war, not the one that happens on Twitter. So. That's a pretty important war we got to fight.
It is, yes.
I was going to say that the Twitter war is actually pretty crazy.
It's pronounced X. You
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Don't type in X in your web browser.
No.
You got to type in twitter.com if you want to get to that.
Is it still twitter.com?
You have to type it because you don't want to type in X.
No, I'm not.
especially
Yeah, no. This is a
kids.
family-friendly show,
Does it go to...
Kids, don't type in XXX in your web browser.
Doesn't it pull the Vin Diesel movie?
Type in twitter.com, please. I am, as someone who has lived most of his career on Twitter as part of like the job.
Yeah.
I will say it's not real life, and it's very healthy to remind oneself that it is not real life.
Yeah.
It does not represent how you would act towards another human.
Yeah.
If anybody on Twitter said the things they said to me in real life, I'm willing to bet you they wouldn't, because they would see my body language change and they wouldn't say those things to people. I think that goes for everybody. I don't think that's the way we would treat people in person. No. It's all keyboard stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I asked Ben Wright, because he has like his soccer. Ben Wright.
Who's that?
The soccer guy. He does.
Please leave this part in.
But he asked him because he has
he's very good. I like Ben.
I like Ben a lot. He's really nice. He has his personal Instagram, and then he has like the Ben Wright soccer one. I was like, oh, what made you like change from Ben Wright to Ben Wright soccer? It's like, oh, when someone threatened one of my children threats. Because of putting them in the MLS ranking in a spot they didn't like. And I'm
Are
like,
you serious?
Yeah. It was like
I love rage tweeting his rankings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. It's funny. Personally, my wife would tell you I'm one of the most defensive people and very sensitive, and like that. That's probably how I'm naturally wired. But it's incredibly either ironic or idiotic that I have gone into an industry where your entire job description and how you are evaluated as a human being in which you have accomplished success or failure is based on if people like you or not.
Yeah.
And for someone who is sensitive and also has like social anxiety as a kid growing up, like that is insane for me to have done that. And then social media came around.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, not only is your ability to articulate an opinion and whether or not we like that or not, how we're going to define your career, but also now anyone with a phone can get online. And again, if I ever need to be told, fuck you, I just open my phone and it's right there and I'm humbled immediately. But
in every language.
But yeah, but I don't know. Like, I guess maybe it's unhealthy that I got used to it. I don't know.
We're not that big yet to where we have people like that. I'm like,
not yet.
I hope we don't ever
I hope
have
we never
people
get that.
like
It's like,
that.
how dare you ask a dad how they felt today?
Yeah, like that's
You have feelings?
It's so insane. I guess, I mean, other than just saying Calipari needs to be fired.
You got what you wanted.
I've been wanting that for years.
Yes.
That's the
Just
only
roll the
hateful
ball
thing.
on out there, big guy. Just roll it on out.
That's right.
There.
Well, that's what he basically was doing as a coach.
I
anyways.
mean, I feel like we had one guy come on and be like, why are you guys always so positive on your podcast? And I was like, because I was trying to like, hopefully if you have a space to talk as a dad about why you like being a dad, you aren't just like, fuck that kid.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
Well, and I will say it is relative to like my own career arc where, and I guess we can get into this, but
also, what was your career arc?
Yeah.
It's been like hustle.
Okay.
And I feel like I don't know how to explain. I'm like the utility infielder who never got the starting job but played in the league for a while. Is how I feel.
Okay.
And imposter syndrome is baked into who I am. But I got started at Rivals.com, which was headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. I started working as a producer for SiriusXM, doing college sports talk radio. Then I got moved to Athlon Sports, which was headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee, and started working there, learning all kinds of other skills outside of radio when it came to writing and like actual reporting and covering and editing and graphic design.
Yeah.
And then SiriusXM brought me back and I started hosting. And when you start hosting, that's when you start to get the feedback.
Yeah.
Pretty, like, it's part of like every segment of your show. So like if you have a 3-hour show and, I remember being on the air when like Joe Paterno was relieved of his duties at Penn State and I had to do a 2-hour radio show about why Joe Paterno was being removed from Penn State, which is he covered up child sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I happen to be, on the board of the Our Kids charity here in Nashville, which is one of the largest clinics of its kind. So I like felt qualified.
Yeah.
And I still went on the air with all this qualification to say these things about these kids and be in this weird like space between college football and child abuse.
Yeah.
Which is a really crazy place to mentally be. And then to just have every caller just be like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're dumbass. Why are you doing this? He did nothing wrong. et cetera, et cetera, et
You wouldn't
cetera.
have done any better.
And and it's not that's an extreme example of like a very heated topic where the country was paying attention.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like you can pick a random take about a random sports team and someone's going to have something terrible to say about it. And I think social media, you know, at its peak was very interesting and a very fun place to be. It is clearly not that anymore. But yeah, when somebody gets on there and just feels comfortable, you know,
making a death threat.
Yeah. And like, I've had friends who've had that happen to them and, you know, like some people are wired to handle it. Some people aren't. You would think that I am wired to not be able to handle it, but because I just kind of I just sort of let it go.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay,
that was going to be my next question is like, how do you take it?
And I'll say back to when my show was canceled locally and spring of 2020.
Oh no.
So like my show's canceled. I lose all my income and all my jobs except for one at Athlon. My kids are 3 and 1. The tornado hits.
Oh yeah.
And so
and
like
you live in East, right?
So our daycare gets closed.
Oh, no.
So we're down there like chainsawing on March 2nd or whatever.
Yeah.
And very serendipitous because I had gotten all of my work started to close down, but we had a 3 and a 1-year-old at home. And as soon as the daycare was hit, like we were quarantining before it was cool. So like we needed a parent.
Yeah.
My wife works and I work full time. We both work full time. Not then I wasn't.
Yeah.
But my kids needed a parent.
Yeah.
And man, if the only thing that happened to me during the pandemic is I learned a lot about my children and myself, then I'm way better off than a lot of people. But I didn't work at all during that time and had no idea where my career was going to go, had no idea what I was going to do. ESPN had hired me, which at the time felt like some unattainable personal goal that I never would have dreamed of. I had been hired by ESPN to do like ESPN. And I was like, this is
it's ESPN.
And they canceled the contract as soon as the pandemic hits.
Oh,
but
no.
I was totally comfortable with it.
Yeah,
I was like, dude, I got a job offer and a contract and got to work in an industry that if you'd have told me when I was 20 years old I was going to get to do, I would have told you were nuts. And so I was comfortable if nothing had ever come of it again.
Cool.
If I had changed industries and changed jobs and left everything I thought I was going to be or whatever, like I was totally comfortable with it because my kids needed me. That's what I wanted to do. You know, for parents out there, I recommend when you have your first child, starting your first morning show as a host so that when you're up at 4 a.m., you're used to it.
Yeah.
I recommend that. And then I recommend when your wife needs you at home in the morning with 2 children, I recommend, the entire world shutting down so that you have to be at home with your kids. No, it's been very strange. And then I launched my own company in September of 2020.
Yeah.
And it's been to your, you're like, hey, we don't get any. That all got eliminated when we started doing our own stuff.
Okay.
All the
how dare you talk about this?
The rage tweets and the anger stuff and the social media vitriol, like it all disappeared when you start building a community that is just for people that you don't agree.
Yeah.
But you're sort of in it for the same reasons.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the bad part of social media is the social part.
Yeah.
The media is fine. It's the social part that our brains are not evolved to handle that much information and connectivity.
No, I think one of my favorite things to do is whenever I know something controversial happens is to go to like the News Channel 5 Instagram and pull up the article they posted on it, which also isn't an article with any bias. It's literally just saying this happened today and then read through the comment section. And it's just people being like, this is disgusting. How could anyone ever do this? And then people being like, you're disgusting for ever thinking that. And I'm just like, what?
But I think this is an interesting point, though. Would that person, and this is no different than social media.
Yeah.
If that person had to physically look you in the face and say that to you, would they have done that? And I hope not. I don't think they do. I think I don't think they do. Like Diane Nash had the plaza named after her, who was super famous, 1960 lunch counter sit-ins, went and spoke to Ben West. That is like 1960. She's still alive. 1960 is
That's not that long ago.
It's not that long. Human history is like how many years have we been around? Like 4 billion years.
Yeah.
1 or 2.
Like 60 years.
Yeah.
Race relations haven't been solved in 60 years.
Yeah.
So I think the point is that like people, there's still like a visceral interpersonal reaction that takes place, and when you can see that happen, I think people. They drop their animosity, they drop their guard, and they kind of chill out, and they go, oh, that kind of bothered somebody.
Yeah.
Which is also an incredibly important part of parenting a headstrong 7-year-old girl who doesn't always notice how other people take her communication skills.
Do you have 2 daughters?
2 daughters.
Nice.
And
they're
very
6 and
different.
7?
6 and 7. They're
What's
18,
their actual
18
age?
months. 18
Okay,
months.
cool.
So the youngest one just turned. So they're in their 6 months where they're sounds like we're insane.
Yeah.
The other 6 months of the year, we don't sound as insane as parents, but very different, like super different kids.
Yeah.
Which is so cool and so fun and awesome, and they're great. So we'll get into that.
That's really fun. So I also I have a daughter who's born in February of 2016 and in January of 2018. So they're 23 months apart. And when the pandemic hit, they were also 1 and 3, and I was staying at home with them.
That's super close. Mine was 16 and 18.
Yeah.
And my 1-year-old was turned 2 weeks into the lockdown.
Yeah.
And so we had did the whole Zoom thing, and she's got the cake, and she doesn't know she's turning 2. She doesn't care. But yeah, like it's hard to actually go back and like look at videos.
It is.
I find myself, because I was just being as creative as possible to get to the next nap or feeding.
Pretty much.
And I'm going to say feeding like they're livestock. Because it should be okay for me to be like, no. I had to get to 9:30, which was double stroller time.
Yeah.
Which is I'm putting my earbuds in and I'm listening to adult content. And you two are going to sit in this damn stroller and we're going to go for about a 3-mile run and you're going to eat the cheese stick and these apple slices and you're going to shut the hell up.
And then we'll all be better. We'll all be better after this moment.
Yes. And then we all, after about 45 minutes, we get back to the house. You know, my wife's up on conference calls doing the Zoom meeting thing because she's working from home and like it, but it was just get to the next. Okay, now it's nap. Okay, now it's lunch. Now it's nap. Now it's, and you're just trying to be as creative as possible to kind of keep them. And this is why teachers and daycare workers and nannies all deserve pay raises, and we need to help out with that stuff. But it was looking at going back and seeing the stuff that we were doing. My wife and I did it the other day, and I was like, this is like genuinely hard.
Yeah.
Like it was hard to do because of the the moment itself should be sacred, right? It's like my 2 daughters playing in a ball pit that I built for them upstairs in the bonus room.
Yeah.
Like that should be something that we all look at with like joy and love and like look at their faces and look at how happy they are.
Look what I provided.
And it's not like my brain can't do it.
Yeah.
My brain breaks when I watch it because I'm just like,
Yeah.
whoa.
I remember talking to a
and we
friend.
haven't grappled with this, by the way.
No,
as a society
we
at all.
haven't. No, there'll be some PTSD for us as a society to deal with.
I think all just trying to forget it.
Yeah. But like, I remember talking to a friend and I was like, so what'd you do? He also was home with like his 2 daughters. And I was like, so what did you do today? Well, we walked to this playground, they kind of played in the dirt for an hour. Then we took an hour bath. And my wife was like, why'd you take such a long bath? And I was like, because we had an hour to kill.
Because they were contained. They couldn't get out.
They were happy. They weren't fighting. They were enjoying themselves.
I mean, they were testing the fences like a velociraptor.
Exactly,
but
yes.
No, I used Frozen 2, I think.
It was Frozen 2. Frozen 2 come up.
Okay, so I used
November 2019.
my daughters now love, my wife and I love hiking. It's a big part of like
cool.
our marriage
Nice.
and our family. And anytime we travel, we try to go someplace and either like catch a show, listen to good music.
Yeah.
We certainly love food, but also like what's the area around the city like, or what's the area around the area. And we used Frozen 2. I used like, wife gets no credit for this one. I completely tricked both of my daughters into like, we now love hiking because Lost in the Woods was what we were doing every day.
Yep.
We're going to go down to the air park, the Shelby Park, and we're going to go get Lost in the Woods. Let's do it. Just like Olaf. Let's go.
Let's go.
And they loved it. They bought in. They were like, Lost in the Woods. They're singing it. And I'm like, okay, this is 45 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's, okay, when's the next cheese stick? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. And whenever they're 1 and 3, my wife also works from home. So, yeah, it's like they can't, like, whenever they get older, you can be like, hey, let's go, like, draw or something like that, and they can be self-contained. But, like, whenever they're 1 and 3 and their snack is done and they want more snack, they don't just go, hey, can I have another cheese stick? They're like, nah!
Yeah.
And you're just like, literally, she's on like she's somehow on 3 phone calls at once right now. You cannot scream. You can do a lot of stuff. You just can't scream like this inside the house.
No, not in the house. And I have one daughter. My youngest daughter is like, so they're very different physically. They're very different mentally. They're best frenemies. But my little one is like 12th percentile size, very, very small, very short, very tiny. Extraordinarily tough, like tougher than me, tougher than mom, tougher than older sister, tougher than everybody. But my God, the vocal cords, like And as someone who talks for a living, I shouldn't be surprised that both my children are have very powerful voices. But my little one is like the weight to volume ratio needs to be studied, like by scientists.
So we can know what's happening.
The windows, I'm surprised they're not broken. That's how powerful her voice is. And you're right, no scream. It's like the one I just am like, she's a lovely child, does literally nothing wrong. It's like, just don't scream in the house.
Just don't scream in the house.
Stop screaming in the house.
You know, you can hear your mom through the door on the phone call. And that's whenever you decide to fall down somehow in front of the door, even though there are thousands of other places to play inside the house. And that's whenever you scream suddenly.
The best one is when like the face is up against the door where the floor and the door are, and she's got the nose like the little fingers underneath the door, and you're like, okay,
okay.
I did not have to deal with any of that during that pandemic part.
We're already talking too much about the pandemic.
But it is it's as the one who was primary parent for that time, the weird like guilt and shame that came with it of like, I have one job and it's for you to not distract. It's to entertain you, like keep you growing and doing stuff, and to make sure my wife has the opportunity to do her job, so all of this can be maintained. So whenever your kid is screaming their head off inside the house, it's like my wife is probably sitting in there being like, "What are you doing out there?" She never communicated that to me, but in my head, every time a kid screamed, I was like, "Man, am I doing anything right now?"
Yeah. It's. So you mentioned, hey, we probably just need to forget about it. I think we probably need to do the opposite of that, but maybe we're not ready for it yet.
Yeah.
In terms of like a full
I am
emotional.
Totally, yes.
But I will say, like, anxiety in kids is not up because of the pandemic. It's up because of smartphones and social media. There's different reasons.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, like if the worst thing that happened to me during this, and it wasn't, we had some family members that were affected, but like if the worst thing personally was I had to spend time with my small children, I can't say anything to anybody, but it doesn't mean that you should, like, honestly, one of the things I tell my friends on text threads a lot is like, everyone is doing a great job. Like you're all doing a great job. Yeah. We all have different issues with our kids and with our marriages and with our jobs and with our families. But like, if I don't know, this is going to sound cheesy, maybe, but
it's a dad podcast.
We're full of cheese.
Dude, I'm on brand. All right.
We're full of
parenting
cheese.
is so much easier than any of you realize. Just give a shit.
Basically.
Just try. If you are trying, you have you've kind of gotten there. Like we're all flawed. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to screw up. But if you care and you try, and I turned it into like a game for me. Like I was like, I would say the first, I don't think I've ever talked about this thing, but April, and I don't think we put on like, I would take it as a badge of honor to get through Monday through Thursday without a TV on.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I did it but it's because I had nothing else to do.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's not like I was trying to balance a job and meetings and finishing a project or anything else. And so I understand parents that were like doing things that needed screens and all that stuff. It's like, no, I was like, we're not turning the damn television on today.
Good for you, man.
We're going outside.
Yep.
We're going to get lost in the woods.
I would be like, if I can make it until after dinner before turn on the TV, then I feel like I've been successful. Or I would do like week by week, be like, here's what we're doing this day. This day. All right, so third Friday of the month, we're gonna have a PJ movie day. You know what?
Exactly,
that one we're gonna do, but it was intentionality.
I don't know if if your kids are this way, but when my little girl watches TV, there is something chemically going on in her brain that just turns her into just a banshee.
So like she gets super, super like worked up and excited.
Oh yeah. Super worked up, excited. Really hard to put down for a nap. And
I'm assuming that Silicon Valley has figured out how to make money on that.
It's called Coco Melon,
aka every app on your phone.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. It's like it's almost as if thousands of generations of humankind survived before television.
Yeah.
No, my oldest is the opposite.
Oh, really?
She will completely turn into a vegetated state. Like she is super smart, super intense, super engaged, very passionate, artistic, loves music, like all this stuff. But if you get her in a room with a television on and on a couch, she will turn into just shuts down.
That's how Ada is when the show is on. But as soon as it's off, then it's like something else clicks and she just goes crazy.
Well, what's funny about television, I know that sounds like I'm being like a grumpy old dad instead of like a cool hipster middle-aged dad.
Are we supposed to be cool dads? Is it possible to be a cool dad?
No, I don't think.
Back to Death Cab for Cutie.
Literally. We were talking about Dave Matthews Band earlier.
Oh, yeah.
No, what's funny is I I'm sure there's some science to either back this up or depending on who you follow on Twitter, turn this down. Like the television has turned into the social event for your family.
Yeah.
With parents and kids versus the individual screen being really what's more dangerous, right? Like it's when we sit down and watch something as a family, there's questions. They're asking questions. We're responding. We are consuming something together as a family. There's a united sort of like experience, a shared experience. And that is so much better, of course, than like if all of us are on our own, if me and mom are on our phones and the iPads going in the other room and like, you know, I know I make my living off people consuming content on their screens. So I got to be careful here, but it's interesting that the movie is now like so much better for you than even just, you know, separate screens. And so we try pretty hard to keep the screens to a minimum, individualized screens together.
It's different.
Whatever.
Do they have like iPads or something?
No, they don't have any iPads.
Oh, okay.
We have one in the house.
Okay.
Total in the whole house. And we use it for like airplane trips or road trips.
Road trips. That's what we use
and we'll take it. But like otherwise it's we try to keep it at a minute. We have 2 televisions in the house total. Yeah. Living room and playroom. And that's for Green Bay Packers football games.
Are you from Wisconsin originally?
Originally, yes.
Okay, cool.
Madison, but I've been here since 97, 96.
Okay, cool.
So.
Nice.
What brought you here?
I moved around a lot as a kid. My parents moved around. I lived everywhere. Indiana.
Oh, where at?
Of course. Indianapolis. My brother was born in Indianapolis. Cool. I lived in Carbondale, Illinois. I lived in Connecticut. Nice. I lived in Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Austin, Texas, and then moved here. Went to Franklin High School. Moved here when I was a freshman.
Was your dad
very long time ago?
Was your dad in the military or something?
Sales, got promoted, didn't care about his kids' psychological development.
It was kind of like not as downplaying as I want to be. That's a very common thing.
Well, it's funny. I say that as like a coping adult
I'm
mechanism.
making you talk about it more. Yeah,
no, which is fine. Nothing I haven't told him already and made them feel bad about after a few glasses of wine at Thanksgiving dinner. No,
that's what I call Thanksgiving.
But it's funny because I said like there's certain things that I personally feel viscerally that I have worked to be opposite. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then there's certain things that I work intentionally to be like my parents. Yeah. Mm-hmm. My parents are wonderful, lovely, kind people. Yeah. And like every family, we have our agreements, disagreements, etc. history. But it's the sense of like Nashville being my home and my community. I am the opposite of what they are, but not for any like right or wrong reason, right? It's like to your point, my dad and mom weren't. It wasn't a negative. It was like, oh, we're doing the right thing for our family because we're gonna make more money at this job and we're gonna move to this place because that's what's best for the family.
Absolutely.
And that's like literally all of humanity has done that.
That's all the hope and optimism we all have.
You move like before like capitalism, you moved to where the job was. you moved to where food was.
It's most of how the west of America was founded.
Right. So like it's not that crazy of an idea.
There's not malice in there.
But my wife, who's born and raised in Nashville with all of her siblings born and raised in Nashville, with her mother born and raised in Nashville, with her aunts and uncles born and raised, like they are all here. So I have 2 opposite ends of the my children have 2 parents that came from 2 very opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah. And now I'm hypersensitive to a sense of community. And like, I'm the one who goes out and like builds the relationships in the neighborhood. I'm the one who like, I'm going to be at the flower shop to make sure I get to know the flower shop's daughter. And I'm the one who, is getting the relationship with the bartender at the local, like I'm so sensitive to building the community and wanting to be stable because of my childhood. Yeah. That it's, but I'm sure I'm overcorrecting. Like I'm sure
you're overcompensating in some
way. Totally
yeah.
overcorrecting for it, but that's fine. It's okay. Yeah. No dad's ever done that before.
No, never.
Part of life.
My parents are incredibly smart, incredibly kind, incredibly loving, gave us everything we ever needed in life. Yeah. Literally, like the things that I now have that I would discuss with my family are because I am married to a woman who is like so psychologically evolved that she has like pulled me into like, I don't know, like the 28th century on human psychology because that's where she exists in the world. Okay. She can walk into a room and she will just understand exactly how everyone feels by looking at them, which is as empathetic as you can possibly be. It's intake. My littlest daughter is exactly the same way. Cool. She has more human understanding at 3 months old than I have at 41. But at the same time, I grew up idolizing my father because I never thought he did anything wrong. Yeah. And one of the things that we work on really overtly with our kids is kind of just two things. Like we want them to be kind, but we want them to know that we are not perfect and we make major mistakes all the time. And it's like a huge thing. It's like, no, I'm sorry. Say I'm sorry a lot.
Yeah.
It's the basic stuff. Say I love you, be there, show up, etc. But like we're pretty focused on no. We do that all the time too. I make that mistake. We're sorry. We're not like, because I have this image of my father as this like almost perfect person, and he's not.
It's not reality.
But I always looked up to that, and now it's like, no, I wish what I'm saying? Like I wish there was a little bit more of like, hey, no. You're right.
Yeah, it's
you're
actually,
right, son.
Yeah.
I did make that mistake.
It's a consistent sentiment that dads come on here and say is the intentionality of looking at their kids and being like, "Hey, I did that pretty wrong."
Yeah.
And like, if that hurt you, I'm really sorry. I thought I knew what I was doing. I didn't. That did not turn out the way I thought it would at all. And I'm really sorry that I just did that.
Yeah, there are a lot of dads that say, "I'm sorry,"
because they had an image of their father of like, "Oh, my dad can do no wrong."
And some like, and again, my father didn't do it for any bad reason at all. There was no
malintent.
Or nothing.
Like
and he like, there's a million, like there's not anybody I would trade my family for. I love my parents, but to suggest that we can't be a little bit better or a little bit more understanding or a little bit more of this or that or whatever, I think is important. And I don't know, that's the constant push of evolution, I guess.
Yeah.
Something like that.
You learn from your mistakes. You learn from your parents' mistakes.
And then hopefully you look at your kids and say, you shouldn't do that. Trust me, because I did it. And it did not turn out so well. You already stopped listening. Never mind. Come back to me in 10 minutes.
The stopping of the listening is like a big problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I talk so much and I'm the output one and my wife's the input one. And so now it's like I can already tell at like 7 and 6 that they're just like, okay, Dad, whatever. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Everything I'm saying is extremely important.
But you haven't stopped talking since you made your last point.
And that's probably why my wife and I balance each other out pretty well. It's that like I can make like 3 important things, and then she's like, "But this," and then my daughters are like, "Okay,
Mom,
we got it, Mom."
What's your wife do for a living?
She works at HCA like all other spouses in Nashville.
Man,
my wife works with HCA.
See, there you go. See, I told you.
How big? I mean,
it's the biggest. It's the biggest company in. It's literally the biggest company in the city.
Okay, I was going to say how big is it?
No, they've got like divisions. Like, so my wife does beverage deals. So like when HCA wanted to switch from Coke to Pepsi, Pepsi to Coke, she brokered that beverage deal.
And I believe my wife now works on the team that manages all of those contracts. Yeah. She just took that. She just moved within.
So my wife might know.
They're probably best friends, actually.
But yeah, so she's gone to like, there's offices out in Denver, there's offices in Texas, there's offices in Louisiana, there's offices in, because HCA is massive. 2,000
hospitals. I better get this right. 2,000 hospitals, and it's Fortune 50 company, and it's number 1 in the city of Nashville. Oracle will be number 2 when it gets here, but not even close to HCA.
Yeah, no, HCA is one of those where like it's.
Shout out HCA, baby.
Shout out HCA. Please sponsor our podcast.
Dude, we've had so many dads on that either worked for HCA, had some type of involvement for HCA.
And we are, to your point, we are a hub of like one of the biggest in the world of like highest end healthcare there is. So there's a reason HCA is here. And honestly, it keeps lots of people clearly employed.
It does.
Yeah.
So. Yep. And it's why like Belmont's like, we'll open that med school. We started with that. We'll open that med school.
Belmont president doing pretty good these days.
Yeah. Yes. Different one than when I was there. But
it's exploded.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, it's like not even like I would have graduated in 2010. I think by the time the next fall semester started, the campus already looked drastically different than the school that I went to because they've had so much growth there.
Hang on. So you graduated high school in like 06, 07?
Yeah.
Do you count as middle-aged?
Well, okay. So I think middle age is actually more dependent on when you die. Right?
Well, the
because,
average
to be
male
the middle of
life
your
expectancy is 72 in the United
So,
States.
I mean,
right?
I'll be 37 this year. So, yeah, this should be middle age, right?
I think you have to be 40. I'm just going to give it to you.
Okay, thank you.
You need to get to 40.
Yeah. Well, I haven't technically entered into my late 30s yet. That's like in 2 weeks because 36 is still, mid 30s. But once I turn 37, then I'm late 30s, right?
Yeah, late 30s. But I still don't think that's middle aged yet.
Well, I don't
think
know.
you need to get to 40.
I think it's more dependent on when you die because I'm being very literal of the term middle age.
True. You are being extremely literal. I mean, if I die tomorrow,
then you aren't middle aged anymore.
I will not be of middle.
Then you would have been middle aged as like a teenager
I'm
or
late,
like 20s. So.
Late stage onset middle agedness.
I come from a very English-driven
very-
and word-driven family.
This is
So
we're getting. I
I'm
would like.
exhausting to be around.
I
is what-
want to see my daughters graduate high school, so I hope nothing happens.
Hopefully, you are in middle age then. Is
Yeah.
basically what we're trying to say.
Although to your point, 72 average life expectancy of an American male. It's 36, right in the middle.
I'm middle
There you
aged.
go.
So there you go. Yeah. So by
But-
math,
But there's no way like 29 is middle aged. Like that's not. That,
Well, I mean-
by that math, 29 is close to middle age, and there's no effing way any of us are middle aged at
Yeah,
29.
that's true.
We're all still big giant
Yes.
dumb idiots.
Yep.
I mean, but if you die at 58 and then at 29, you are middle aged.
But that's a counterfactual. I can't disprove it. It's how does anyone know when they're going to die?
well, I mean,
No one knows. Anyway,
segues. How to segue?
I don't know
What's your current job? What do you do currently?
all right.
So I remember because you started following us, and it was like 440 Media, and you did from your personal account. And I originally read it as 404 Media in my head, and I was like, "Why is this Atlanta-based thing following us?"
Or not found on the internet, right?
Yes. I tried to type you in, and it kept on saying
no,
server errors.
It's funny. My wife gets credit for the name. Actually, I kind of knew. So Rivals.com, Athlon Sports, Sirius XM. I'd hosted these shows. I'd started working at 102.5 here locally, hosting a morning show right when my daughter. So I moved into local media in 2016, in September. My daughter was born in October of 2016. November of 2016 happens. And so I was always like a nerd in history and politics and, you know, like I was always kind of a nerd, probably more so than your average sports jock would be.
Yeah.
But when that happened, I was like supercharged. It was like, okay, I knew that election was going to be exclusively about Supreme Court justices. I just had a daughter and I was like, I just moved into local media. So I was interacting with my audience on a more tangible, like face-to-face basis. I just become a father and what's going to happen with our country. And in particular, the rights of my daughter moving forward. And that was what I was kind of focused on. And so that kind of like supercharged me into like activism and just being alert and awake and alive. And then fast forward to our previous conversation with 2020 happening, ESPN had hired me. That contract canceled. Sirius XM canceled. The one not canceled in the like stupid culture war type of way, but like,
But you no longer have a contract.
right. There's no, and one of the common misconceptions about sports talk radio and the pandemic is like, oh, you have no games. You must not have anything to talk about. Yeah. If you suck at your job, you had nothing to talk about because you're not creative. But honestly, my favorite time of the year as a college football guy, which has been my area of expertise, is the summer because you get to be creative every day on the show. You get to come up with topics and interesting angles that you don't. It's not just who run blocked the best
You're
on
not
Saturday.
reacting to the game you just watched. Yeah.
So being creative, I've always relished that opportunity in the summertime. So this whole idea that like, oh, how did you do your job without any sports to talk about? I'm like, first of all, sports and life are completely interwoven. You can't. Like I did 12 book reports on Jackie Robinson. You can't tell me that was just because he was a great baseball player.
Yeah.
No, it's because he was the first black baseball player, and I was interested in that. And you can't tell me that sports doesn't pull society through into sort of the next kind of, you know, kicking and screaming sometimes into the next wave. And so, long story short, ESPN called me back after all of the pandemic. I had launched my own company, 440 Media, which we wanted to do something about Nashville. And I wanted to do everything. I wanted to do it in a way that was opposite of all the bullshit that normal media teaches you.
Sure.
Media teaches you to enrage people, to divide them, to create debate. It teaches you to pick the most divisive topic. It teaches like the people that do the work don't get paid.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of like just unhealthy habits. And I honestly was trying to get out in February of 2020 before all that stuff happened. Not the least of which was because my wife needed help at home with 2 small children getting out the door. But I wanted to launch a company that kind of like ran antithetical to all that stuff. Like I wanted it to be about community. I wanted it to be about people that liked the same things, that cared about the same things. And we launched a local company. Yes, my wife we were driving down I-65 South to go to her parents' house. And she's like, well, what about 440? And I was like, oh, it's not a bad name.
Why do you have to be so much smarter than me?
It's like not a bad name because like it literally encompasses the city. All the
Goes around
all the sports teams happen kind of inside of there.
Yep.
Vanderbilt's in there, Nashville SC's in there. Okay, this makes sense. All right. And people know 440 as a term. Like I try to explain it to people in Knoxville or Memphis or Huntsville or Birmingham, and like they kind of don't get it, but people in Nashville know what 440 means. And so it turned out to be like the best thing that ever happened to me was all this stuff because I spent a lot of time building the idea in my head, and then we just sort of had to like push play. And we started with 4 shows in September of 2020 that we owned. We partnered with a bunch of different companies. We now have 11 shows, and now we're not just sports, we're into news and politics. So it's been very successful because we've stayed focused on local communities the whole time.
Yeah.
All of our music is original Nashville artists, one of which I believe has been on your show.
Wait, which one?
Ricky's been on the show.
Oh, really?
So Wild Feathers is our SEC show.
Oh, cool.
Dude, I love
We've used them, and Ben, shout out to Ben, huge Georgia fan, all great dads, by the way. But like, that was the point, is we wanted the shows to be like hosted by Nashville people who cared about Nashville topics, who knew the Nashville like culture and the people that live here that care about Nashville SC, the Nashville Predators, Tennessee Titans, etc. And so launched that company. ESPN hired me back. So I still do work for ESPN kind of on a freelance basis. I fill in for Feinbaum.
Oh,
so,
really?
So depending on when this comes out, I'm hosting Feinbaum, which again, if you want to be told how worthless you are, just not be Paul Feinbaum.
Really?
So every time I host, they're all just like, who the hell's this guy? They just call it like, where's Paul? Why aren't you on television? I'm like, I'm Braden. I'm a guy.
I'm just doing my best.
But like, do you want to talk about Nico? We could talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. We could talk about Mark Stoops leaving Kentucky, maybe for A&M. Like we could, Like we could talk about this
Hold
stuff.
on a second. What?
He almost took the A&M job.
Oh, okay.
You know? But see, he's about to get pissed off at me for not being Paul Feinbaum.
Wait, you're not Paul Feinbaum?
That's the only.
What the heck? Get out of here!
I
thought you were.
I weigh at least 150 pounds more than Paul Feinbaum.
We are different in multiple ways.
No, he is one of the most, like, I would, mentor is not the right word because we're not that close, but I would say that I've learned a lot from what he's done. But also what made him successful, back to my original point, what made him successful was he learned how to pit Auburn and Alabama people against each other.
Yeah.
And he figured that out in the early 90s when sports talk radio was kind of still before it became like the medium in sports. And he figured that out at a very early time. All I got to do is get Alabama people to yell at Auburn people and I will make a fortune. And he did.
And people will listen.
And it's still how you are taught to do sports talk radio. It's not about being right or wrong. It's never about being right or wrong. It's about picking the topic that divides the people that are listening into corners, which is no different than what social media does. And I was like, no, I think there should be a space for an hour-long conversation about how we all are frustrated with our kids. Like that, that's what you guys do. And that is like, I wanted a space where we could, the whole point of the company was like, for Nashville Predators fans, if you want state-run propaganda from the team, you can go get that. And it's great. There's hype videos, there's smart content, there's stories about players, there's all kinds of good stuff. If you want Embrace Debate Sports Talk Radio, the station I used to work at, you can go get that, and you can get people arguing about this or that, and the topics are going to be fairly high level. It's going to be 10,000 foot view. I wanted a place where people who really cared about something could go 100 miles deep into that one topic, and then we could build a community around it and do it with, again, original Nashville music, original Nashville hosts, original Nashville art, original Nashville this. It's going to be hosted in the town, and all of our advertisers are like locally owned small businesses. If a giant corporation offered me millions of dollars, I would like to stay married, so I would take the check.
But until that moment happens.
But we have made it, like, we've grown every year, and we've done pretty well by just supporting the people in our own community.
That's awesome.
And making those dollars go around and around and around and around instead of like flying out to some headquarters somewhere. So I know that sounds like super crunchy, but
no, I mean, that's,
but I think it's why it's worked. So
what we started here and why we started it here is just to have a community for dads to rely on each other and to know that they're not alone. And to have resources. I mean, and
to not be like, here are the 5 ways you can be a great dad.
Yeah, no.
None of that stuff.
No listicles.
No, just like,
listicles.
Hey man, how's the pandemic for you? I'm still suffering PTSD. Cool.
top 10 songs we all listened to during the pandemic. Click here. No, I agree. That like, again, I worked on the Google hamster wheel when I was at Athlon Sports, and so I've kind of done all this. I took 15 years of doing all the shit I didn't like doing, and was like, well, no, there's got to be some better way to do this. And coming out of honestly, in the middle of the pandemic, and not to go back to that, but I thought I was craving in real life connection again.
Yeah.
I was craving something more than just Twitter and Zoom. And I was like, no, we've got to find a place where we can actually, like, all right, let's have a longer conversation about something. We can disagree about stuff. Oh, heaven forbid we disagree about stuff. We admit that we're wrong about something. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's okay. And so that was sort of the goal behind it. And so I get to do like the old school media thing when I do ESPN, and I get to be like, all right, I got to come up with the simplest topic and then try to divide the audience and come up. Like I do the whole old school radio thing. And then, but for most of the job, most of my life, I am hosting, editing, producing, posting, promoting all
How
the shows on the platform. I don't.
We are currently hiring if you're interested.
It's not too far off.
Oh, man.
No, but I will say I don't like it. I'm assuming that every small business, like a chef or an artist or anybody, not to compare myself to that, but like when somebody launches something and you put yourself into it, it's really hard to like give it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's not that there aren't a million people more qualified than me that could do the job that I'm doing. It's not that at all. There's plenty of, they all go to Belmont probably too.
Yep.
or MTSU. Like they're great REM school out there. Like just great audio engineers and like, you know, all these great talented people and creatives in this city. But you're sort of just like, no, I kind of built this thing the way I wanted it and it's working because it's the way I wanted it. And now I'm scared to like not do all of the work. And my wife's like, you need to stop doing all of the work. So,
I mean, if someone was like, hey man, let me edit your podcast episodes for you, I'd be like, no, thank you. Nothing. I'm not ready to give up that control yet.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. I mean, I understand that.
I like the narrative we're able to create. I'm glad I trust the flow that I know we create in these episodes and everything. And if someone else did it, it'd be slightly different. No one else would probably notice it, but I would notice it and I would be upset with it.
Yeah, and I can't believe you cut that other thing out earlier.
Trust me, your wife will thank me that I took that.
That's kind of how I am with Peachtree. Like, I want to grasp my hands around it at all times, but my wife is just like, you have to delegate.
You
or
do.
You are going to go insane.
It's reality. It's scalable. It's all the stuff that's like real of like, well, if you let go, then you find out other people might want to help you. Then you can grow in different ways. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not ready to do that.
Well, and is it just overly like, I don't know, ignorant or naive or stupid, all of the above, to just be like, no, there's a point of scalability where it can't be maintained.
Yeah.
Like you can't maintain the thing that made it work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like if you're a musician, you get to a point where you're touring and you're so big that like you can no longer see the eyes of the people you're playing to. Or if you're a writer and you're never actually interacting with people that read your work, or like I don't know, there's got to be
diminishing returns at some point.
Yeah, or like just any product, any widget that you make. There's got to be a point in which the scale of your productivity is going to affect the quality of the product. And
pretty much. For 40 Media, do you have an office or do you do everything from home offices?
Offices. My home office is at the house.
Okay.
And then we have a
home office.
We have, the home office in the office would be weird. No, I have my co-host on the political show, Jamie Holland, has an office at the Shops at Fatherland, and we sort of record our episodes there. So the next phase of the business is like, oh, do we expand over the garage and then put the studio there?
Gotcha.
Or am I just going to keep running it out of here? Overhead's low when it's in your own house.
It makes a big difference. And you guys, do you do video for every podcast or just a couple of them?
It's sort of it's evolved. We've done. I learned, and this is honestly, it's kind of fighting against my natural instincts to create like a true conversation show. The natural instinct is to keep it that way in audio form.
Yep.
But because advertisers and people, and I am not one of them, but young people in particular. Young people,
the youths,
air quotes, they will just watch this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it.
Nope.
But I don't have to understand it. I know that they want it. And when we're doing Pred shows now live on the YouTube page for the first time ever. We've had a very successful show. We cover the Nashville Predators, Gold Standard Podcast, everywhere you get your podcast. But we've never done anything with video ever.
Yeah.
And just during this playoff run, this most recent playoff run, we started doing live shows the morning after the game. And we've gotten this like crazy response from it. And it's like, well, no, you can still build this community in a visual form. Cause I always feel like video reduces this is like a really old, like radio guy talking. I always thought that when you watch a television show, in particular sports commentary, so much more stuff is happening to keep you engaged on the screen than the actual words and the content that you're discussing. You need the bottom line ticker. You need the scroll. You need the left side rail. You need all this stuff. You need this fancy studio that looks like a spaceship, and you need all these things that distract you from like, well, how good is the content?
Yeah.
And I always thought, oh, you TV people, you're not as good as radio. We have to be so much smarter because You can't see anything. We can't distract you with anything but how good is the content? What are we talking about? And that's not the way people consume it anymore.
Yeah.
They don't want what's interesting is the quality of your audio to do a digital product. People will turn you off. If you don't have good quality audio, they'll turn you off. But through the pandemic, we got used to like pretty basic Zoom quality video.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody on cable
It's
news.
very much like this. It's just mid-range and nothing else.
That's exactly right. And now look, you spend a little money on a nice camera and some, like a couple lights and like put a good backdrop behind you, and people watch you because they want it. Number one, we were talking earlier about how you just open your phone and you can get insulted pretty fast. They want to see your face when they insult you.
I want to look you in the
They do. They want to
see your face, but not be in front of your face.
exactly.
Oh, they still want the protection and
Yeah.
They don't want to be within reach.
yeah, they want the anonymity of the internet still, but want to see your face when they tell you you're an idiot. Like that's a terrible opinion on Tennessee Volunteers football. Let's see what he has to say about this.
Yeah.
But also it's just how it's just how YouTube is huge. What's interesting is I actually think the originator of the like the radio show on television, Howard Stern probably is the originator of that.
Sure. Yeah.
But he used it as like a TV show. Like he would actually do stuff that was, hey, we're going to have this girl do this. We're going to have this guy do that. Or we're going to, the person who did Sports Talk, where it was a television show about a radio show. It wasn't like, they didn't use it like it was a TV show of its own, was the Dan Patrick Show. And I used to listen, that's somebody I've sort of I've looked up to him my entire career. Him and Jon Stewart are probably the two broadcasters I would say I've like, if I like unintentionally, subconsciously planned my game after, it would be those two. Yeah. Because I think you have to be self-deprecating. You have to be able to talk about heavy topics without being too serious.
Yeah.
But while still being like you can be serious without yelling at each other, but he'd put his show on television after leaving ESPN, and no one really survives leaving ESPN. Like if you're that big and you leave ESPN, it's very hard to like exist as you do in ESPN because the platform is so huge and it promotes you in such a big way. And he put his show on TV. And it was just like it would be like us sitting in the studio with some cameras watching us. It wasn't like a real TV show. Does that make sense? And I think some of the shows that we do, it's just your face on screen. It's just, and that's why I don't understand why people watch it.
Because there's not flashy stuff. It's literally
it's as simple as it gets, and that's what they want to
Pod
see.
Bless Nashville stuff, and it's just a dude sitting there answering a question.
Yeah, and I think and our live sports shows, it is sort of like we are literally like talking heads. Yeah. But they're into it because people put YouTube on and they just let it play and they'll let us go. And if you want to subscribe, we'd appreciate it.
5 stars.
No, just a thumbs up,
Yeah, that's
good.
right. Yeah.
That's good. No, it is really interesting. And I don't know where we're going. I think one of the things I'm focused on a lot as a parent is social media and cell phones and screens, because like this is cigarettes, man. Like this is worse than cigarettes. It's bullying and cigarettes and addiction all wrapped into one thing, but also on a thing that is necessary to exist.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've started dropping these lines with my 6 and 7-year-old, because you can't talk about like, well, listen, when you're 13, you're going to have a bad self-image because Instagram sucks. Like you can't talk about that to a 7-year-old.
No, not so much.
But what we say about the road is a lot of what I'm saying to them about the internet now. And I do it like once every couple of weeks. I just drop a line in there. And the road is very much like, well, we need the roads to exist. We need like hopefully we'll all live in a world with light rail one day, but we have to have roads to exist. We have to have roads to kind of conduct life, but they command respect, right? Like you can't run into the road. Look both ways. Like the roads are they're necessary, but very powerful and dangerous. And so that's how I talk about the internet with the girls. It's like, look, it's necessary for us to exist, and we have to have the internet, but it demands respect. It can also be a dangerous place. And so I don't say much more than that. But I want them to remember at a young age that Dad was saying, be careful on the internet. Be careful on the internet, because the shit you put on the internet stays there forever. And they're gonna we need ethical tech. I can go on a whole another spiel about this, but AI is going to change our lives, and we're all going to have personal assistants just the way the smartphone did. And I'm hopeful that by the time my daughters have cell phones in 6 years, when they have a teen in their number, that we've sort of solved some of these problems, personal privacy data problems, or you know, like all these companies know what they're doing to kids. Like they have email. We have the information. This is literally a tobacco company knowing that their cigarettes cause cancer. Like this is exactly what it is.
Yep.
So the first time I'll agree with Marsha Blackburn. Our kids shouldn't be all over Instagram, and phones shouldn't be in schools at 14. And if I sound like an old man, I don't care. So.
No, I mean, like at 36, 37, it's hard to know how to like moderate myself with the phone and with social media and stuff. So how would my 7-year-old be?
And you're almost a fully formed adult.
Almost. I'm not. Well, am I middle aged yet?
You're not middle aged yet.
No, but that's honestly it's a difficult thing because like I catch. Like I don't get on Instagram. I don't like Instagram. Yeah. I know that my business needs it to function, evil. But like I don't enjoy it. Like I'll get on there and there's like 2 people I like following. It's like Anthony Jeselnik and like this guy who tells dad jokes on a dock in Alaska. It's like okay, so like
all right, I'm gonna have to follow.
These are the only 2 things that I will actually look at for more than 5 seconds. But if I scroll more than one time on Instagram, I can feel myself like turning into the characters of WALL-E.
Yeah.
Like I can just feel myself getting like slower and dumber.
Yep.
And a big part of smartphones is that, we're never going to be bored again. It's actually really important for us to be bored. It's important for kids to be bored.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Go out. I know they'll go outside.
Because then they have to use their imagination.
Oh, heaven forbid.
Yeah.
Dad, what do I do? I don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
Go figure it out, dude.
Yeah, man.
Use your imagination.
Yep.
But I can feel myself like getting sucked in. So yeah, me and my wife have to be very careful about like we can't preach to them about the dangers of this without also acknowledging that we are a part of it too.
Yep. That is.
And by the way, I run my business off of it.
Yeah.
So it's like
This is how you guys ate the other day.
right.
Do you do Club and Country? Is that part of your group?
That is owned by 440 Media.
Nice.
Yes.
Club and Country. What is that? Tell us more about
That is the premier Nashville SC podcast.
Oh, okay.
Joe says yes to that
just
one.
All about the SEC.
Yeah, man. I mean, you follow the threads,
SC.
man. You start listening to it. You message back and forth with Wes Bowling a couple times, and you're like, who else owns this? So.
And shout out to Wes, man.
Yeah, man.
He and his family are in it right now, and they are awesome, wonderful people. And that is exactly the show that like sort of embodies kind of exactly what we are, which was, Wes was doing the radio call for the time. He was the radio play-by-play man for Nashville SC. I actually did a couple of games with them when they were USL.
Oh, cool.
And certainly not qualified to do anything with the MLS level. He is totally. But Tim Sullivan runs clubandcountry.com, Club and Country USA, and he's been covering the team for years, and Wes has been covering the team. So I was like, look, I need 2 people that know this stuff inside and out, that know how to do a show, that can speak intelligently about it. I'm going to find like some really good music. We got Moon Taxi to do the music for it.
Go Belmont.
We put everything together. There you go. We put everything together, and it's like, well, and then shout out to ML Rose and Bearded Iris, who are the sponsors on that show.
That's
so like,
awesome. It's 2 local businesses with 2 local guys that have covered this local thing that kind of only people in Nashville care about, and that sort of embodies the model there. And honestly, I'll be very transparent. Like my company doesn't make a lot of money off that. Wes and Tim make the money off that show.
Cool.
That's great.
We get to have the best show on our platform, and I get to brand it and market it and claim it. But and we own it. But at the end of the day, it's their work, and so they make the majority of the revenue.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like, I don't know. I guess that was the vision when we started it, and I just never imagined it being able to make a living doing it.
No, I mean
That's
it's
pretty cool, though, man.
I think there's the reality that like is hard to keep in mind from the pandemic is how isolation was the healthiest option for a lot of the pandemic. So then you come out of it and you're like, well, how do I build community then? Because I am desperate for community. And then you look at some niche things such as like we have an MLS team now. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This like people will want community about this. How do we build community about this? So I think it's really cool that you're like, all right, who called the games at the USL? Who wrote who had like one of the first websites about it? Would they want to do a show? Because they're going to care the most.
Well, and I will say this is going to. I don't want this to come off as like, well, I was in journalism and I was a reporter on a radio host. But like part of the reason I think the business worked is that one of the first calls I got was from a local business that was because I brought on Adam Vingan to be my co-host on the Pred Show, who was working at the Athletic, and I was hiring Steve Cavendish for the Nashville Banner was my co-host on another show, and so I wasn't hiring. Like I was bringing on people that were like Wes Bowling was the radio play-by-play man of the team.
Yeah.
Like that's a very serious person.
Yeah.
Around in Nashville SC. And it didn't feel like when we launched the company, like we felt like we were launching, like the goal was to launch a competitor to radio stations. Okay. To create an a la carte menu of options that you can choose and can control what you listen to when you listen to it. Because if you turn on the radio, you don't have control over that. It's whatever that radio host thinks is the most important thing for the most people in the market. And if you don't agree with that topic, you're not interested.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to give the listener control. Like, oh, you love the Preds, here's a Preds show. You love SC, here's an SC show.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And so we were trying to compete. Like, that was the whole goal, was to compete against the two big stations. And we have nowhere near the listenership of them. We're not even close. But like, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to just do good stuff, and maybe it makes a living, and it's been successful enough to keep doing it. It's not ever going to be this massive media conglomerate or whatever, but that's not the goal. The goal, again, to our earlier commentary about scalability, like I think we lose focus on catering to the people that care the most if we start to lose focus on catering to the people that care the most. I know that's weird. Well, and small media in local markets is going to be successful.
Yeah.
And I would point to, and frankly, Tennessee Lookout is great. They are a nonprofit group. So is Nashville Banner. National Scene is great, which, in the interest of full disclosure, we have a partnership with them. So like, their local good quality media is still there. It's just very expensive to reinvest into it. And that's why the Banner's working well as a nonprofit. Yeah. Subscription model is going to work very well moving forward. I'm far more interested in like how all of this affects, not to get back to like dadding, but like, I'm so interested in how all this affects our consumption of content and distribution of information to our kids. Yeah. Just because I'm, the psychology of media right now is it's changing so fast. Yeah. That even as someone who's done it for 20 years, I don't really know where we're going to be in about 8 years, 6 years from now. But like, that's about when my kids are going to be like on overload consumption wise. Yeah. And so I'm really trying to like, how do I get I already understand this stuff. I live in it. I work in it. How can I take that and use it as some sort of guiding, give some principles to my kids to help them, navigate their own way through it, without being like, don't do this, do that. Don't do this, do that,
No, I think it's the, there's like a sentiment that I believe in a lot, is that there are a lot of conversations you have to have as a parent that if you aren't comfortable to have them with your kid, it doesn't mean the curiosity in your child suddenly stops. So like, my daughter is already like, when do I get a cell phone? And I'm like, not for a while. But like, that doesn't suddenly make her be like, I don't want a cell phone now. It's like, okay, cool. So I have to come up with a reason now for why she doesn't have a cell phone, why I don't think she should have a cell phone yet, and then have it be an open discussion with her. Because I know every time I just say no, it makes her more curious. It makes her double down on her desire to get it.
There you go. I mean, that's a great avenue to use for that.
And one of the things my wife has taught me is that they're just gonna, like, they'll let you know when they're capable of more or less. And we don't need to get into when do you have the talk conversation with your kids. But like, we're very much like, just tell the truth about everything they ask about. Yep. And so it's like, when she's 5, she's like, well, where do babies come from? We're like, well, the sperm and the egg, they come together, and this is what happens, and blah, 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 blah. And then so like, she didn't ask any questions about it. She was like, okay. Yeah. And then a couple months later, she asked another follow-up about it, because it just kind of comes out of nowhere. And they're very like on their own pace, asking the things that they are kind of capable of understanding. And so you're right. Like, how do I look at my already way too smart for her own good 7-year-old and try to explain to her? And this is probably why I'm dropping these little hints of like, the internet. The internet is important, but needs to be respected. It's dangerous, is because I know that I'm going to have to tell her one day straight up, because we've always been like, we're just very honest with them. If they ask, so like, we've dealt with a lot of death in our family, and like my youngest is extremely empathetic, understands human emotion. Like, we told her that her grandfather had passed when she was like 4 and burst into tears, or 3, and like knew what it meant. Yeah. Not like burst into tears, I'm sad, I'm not going to see it, like understood. Yeah. And so they're already so much smarter than we ever give any of them credit for, all the kids. So I'm going to have to come up with a pretty smart way to say like, no, and do it in a succinct way where I'm not explaining like how Instagram attacks your self-being, your bodily self-image, the bottom of your brainstem, the chemical dopamine releases. Like, how do I do all of that in a quick, digestible way for my 8 or 9 or 10-year-old to understand why that is so, like, all your friends have it, but you can't. Yeah. And honestly, hopefully that's why, like, no phones in schools until high school as a collective action is super powerful. Yeah. If it's just you taking it away from your daughter and all of her friends have it,
that's worse.
It's going to get worse. Yeah. But if you take it all away from everybody, then everybody's less bullying, happier, better with schoolwork. There's like science behind this stuff. So like so we're going to have to figure out as a society how we do this. And I think it starts with let's start with personal privacy data laws, which is going to hit the social media companies in their pocketbooks. And then the follow-up after that is let's get our kids off cigarettes. Like that, we've got to get them away. That's my metaphor for it.
Sure,
it's like, so when they're capable and when they're able, and can you imagine being like, I can't believe that cell phones are allowed in schools.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember in high school, I had a cell phone and I would like hide it underneath.
So you could play Snake,
Snake.
That was on the computer. That was on the TI-81, baby.
Or text my
TI-81.
girlfriend.
Man.
But like,
Texas
can
Instruments.
you imagine having a Game Boy with Tetris on it in 5th grade playing on your Game Boy? My teacher would lose her
Yeah.
shit.
I couldn't even handle like a bad bowling game on my cell phone as a senior in high school.
Do you remember those little handheld games that were they were probably like 4 inches by 6 inches, and it was like just the little black figure that used to go. It's bowling or baseball or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And it would just beep 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 the whole time. Like that would never be. None of that stuff was ever allowed.
No.
The idea that you could now have the entire internet,
Basically,
a
access to
laptop,
literally everything.
as a 7th grader in your classroom is absurd to me.
Yeah.
And I know I'm an old man, but like it just sounds,
that
insane.
shows our age.
It does basically.
But like I have a cell phone. I know what it does for me. I know that I'm on it all the time.
Yeah.
I know the value. It's not like I'm not like cable TV, video games. Like that's not what I'm.
Yeah.
By the way, statistics show video games decrease violent crime, but whatever. Like it's not like I don't understand.
Yeah.
My parents didn't understand video games. Like they didn't understand why I was wanting to play Game Boy all the time or whatever. Like that. I understand why you want a cell phone. I get it. Yeah. I take the dopamine hits too.
Yep.
I like the likes.
Yeah.
But like never would I have been. I don't know. I think it's a little different. Also, they're also like the 8 or 9 or 10 biggest companies in the world now.
Oh yeah.
And we are like we as human beings, we are the new big oil. Like we are the commodity.
We are.
Yeah, that's true.
We are the commodity. Our little kids' brains is the thing that is being sold for billions of dollars right now.
Who knew our data would be so valuable?
I don't know. Or our habits.
Well, and AI is going to... So with the transit referendum coming, for example, it's one of the few times I'm actually encouraged by AI.
Okay.
Because our current transit system and all of our traffic signals in the city are all hooked up, like, for lack of a better metaphor, like analog. Like dial up.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that specifically, but I'm saying like as a metaphor.
Yeah.
We have a very antiquated, old, extremely slow moving traffic signal system in the city, which is why part of Mayor O'Connell's transit referendum is about updating that. That is where AI, for example, would be extremely helpful.
Okay.
In real time, it could navigate and change signals across the entire city in seconds, in real time. That is where AI is extremely important and valuable and will make all of our lives better. Mm-hmm. It's not better when you think you've said something out loud and all of a sudden you get an ad for it on your social media app. That has nothing, like, it's so funny that we all think that, but it's because it knows where you've been, how long you've been there. It knows everything. And we all know this stuff now. Like, this is not like, this is not new information to people. I think parents know it. And I think it's why we're seeing bipartisan support for kids off social media, cell phones out of schools until high school. Like, we're starting to get it. Again, I think it goes back to, like, as a parent, and this feels old school now because we're all like in 2020, everyone's squishy in 2024 as with kids and everything. It's like, I look at the number of times I look at my daughters and I say, no, that's mine.
Yeah.
As long as you live in this house, I own everything. Me and my mom and dad own everything. You don't own anything.
Yeah.
We will absolutely give you your space that is yours, that we will respect. But like literally nothing in this house you've paid for. Mm-hmm. You don't own any of it. And if we want to say no about the TV being on, we can say no when the TV's on. And I know that sounds like, no, how dare you say that to your kids? It's like, well, no, like it's
you got to set boundaries.
It's our damn television. And so I think it goes back to, and I don't know what it'll be like when they're 13 or 14 and they're coming home and they're like, no, I want to do this. And honestly, you're right. I don't know how that affects like the appointment stuff. Like how about this? This is the one I think that is similar is Saturday mornings. Mm-hmm. I never really watched cartoons Saturday mornings, but I could watch TV Saturday mornings. My wife and her 3 siblings, they could get up and they could watch cartoons Saturday mornings. Like that was a big deal. Yeah. We now let the girls, they know how to work the TV, of course. They know how to work the apps. Like they know how to do it all. Yes. And so like, don't come downstairs. Whatever you do, don't come downstairs. But Saturday mornings, you can put on the TV.
Yeah.
in their playroom outside of their bedrooms. They can go out and they can watch TV.
At what age did they start? Did they start doing?
Oh God, my oldest knew how to work it like years ago. But again, maybe I'm just like extra stubborn. When I'm just like, no, you don't. No, turn it off. Turn it off. You can't watch TV right now. No, we're not watching TV. It's a Tuesday. It's school night. You're not watching TV. So I think it's part like just, and some of that's just how thankless the job is of being a parent. You just got to do the shit that nobody else like. That no one else is going to take care of this kid, dude. Yep. it's on you to do it. So Saturday mornings, I think that one is very transferable from my childhood to my kids' childhood. It's like, no, Saturday mornings are for you. You worked all day during school. You worked all week. You had a fun night Friday night. Don't bother mom and dad. We want to sleep. You guys can watch, put on whatever you, and we trust them to watch what they're going to watch. And I'm assuming we'll have to get to the parental controls at some point, but we're not there yet. They don't care yet. They're not there yet.
No, I think it's my wife always tells me to be like, no, you have to find a yes somewhere. You can't just look at your kid and say no. You have to be like, we want to watch TV tonight. Actually, I'll do this a lot if my wife travels for work. If it's like 6 p.m., I'm like, hey guys, if we go ahead, get ready for bed, house is somewhat clean, you can watch TV until it becomes 7 o'clock. So if you get that done in the next 10 minutes, you can watch TV for 50 minutes. If you get it done in 40 minutes, you can watch TV for 20 minutes.
Teaches time management.
Yeah, exactly. You can do this if you want. And if it's 7, I'm like, actually, you had the yes, and now it's no. But then it's because you can't just look at a kid and say no. Unless they're like 2.
Are you the no person of the two of you?
Oh, I'm without question. I'm the stay-at-home dad though. So I'm around the kids constantly. I'm the one constantly setting boundaries.
I'm the no person for sure. Yeah. Out of the two
and
of
it's
us.
not that our wives aren't yes people all the time.
I am totally the yes guy.
Oh, you're such a lucky bastard, man.
My wife is the one. No, don't do that. I'm just like, hey, just let her do it. Why not?
I would give anything to be the yes person, and I know that we can just choose to do that, but it's not how I'm wired. And my wife is wired. She is wired to we're going to navigate this without a yes or a no. We're going to figure it out. We're going to talk it through. And sometimes she just continues to negotiate with the terrorists. And I'm like, you've got to stop negotiating with terrorists. It doesn't happen often, but every now and then she gets the little one will get overtired and she'll be,
we've lost the ability to reason.
And then it's actually, she gets so she's already the funny one in the family.
Yeah.
So she gets even funnier. Where last night, this literally was last night. We're out in the hallway putting my oldest to bed, and she's having a great night because they never have a good or a bad night at the same time. It's always one or the other. And she's in the other bedroom. My little one's in the other bedroom, and normally just can read the room and understands that okay, older sister's having a tough time or mom's having a tough time, and we'll just go with the flow, super smart like that. But last night wasn't happening, and she's there. She's like, is someone going to come in and give me a hug? And we're just I look at my wife. I'm like, don't acknowledge. Just don't engage. Don't acknowledge. Don't negotiate with terrorists. We're talking to Maren. And she goes, I don't like it when I don't get an answer.
How many times have you said that to your daughter?
She learned that from somebody.
I don't like it when it's silence. And no, I don't think I've ever said that. Truly, I don't think I've ever said that. No. She just was she was in complete self-expression mode of just I am not happy that no one is responding to me. What is happening?
That's hilarious.
And it just, I look at my wife. I'm like, you can't go back in there. Yeah. If you engage, she's got you roped in for another 12 minutes.
Yep. You have to let it go.
You gotta just ignore it. Normally she's really good at that, and I'm the one who can't stop engaging. I will say there's actually a coffee table book I bought my parents that has this couple did a really beautiful thing where they took all the sayings of their kids and illustrated them. And you know how it's no, it's all the things that they said to their kids.
Oh yeah.
And it's okay, can you please get the Tyrannosaurus Rex off your sister's face? Those kinds of things. The things that you just don't believe you're ever going to say that you say as a parent. And they made a coffee table book out of it. And it's really, awesome. I'll have to.
There are so many times I'm like, I can't believe I just had to say that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just constant.
The one that I find myself remembering and kind of taking notes on are the phrases that they get wrong, but they think they're getting them right.
Yeah.
And I've just remember so they used to call it a clever card instead of a credit card. It's like Dad, use your clever card on this. And so I just try to remember those because now they get it right. Now they would never.
Now the moment's passed.
I'm like, okay, make sure you use air conditioning on your hair. Instead of after the shampoo, we use air conditioning. And my daughter used to call. She goes, Dad, check it out. It's my diarrhea. And now
that's not right.
Then she actually got diarrhea.
Oh no.
No, like, and then she learned that
That's
was
diarrhea.
not.
That was her
oh,
lesson. That was how she
she's
learned
like,
from
no,
personal
Dad, that's my
experience.
diary. I'm like, yeah, but it was so much funnier
so
when
much
you were
funnier.
5 and you called it diarrhea.
My son will say, Justin and I both have a 2.5-year-old. And
God bless you both.
I know. Whenever he says the word birdie, it sounds like booty. So he'll be like, "Oh, you hear that booty?" And I'm like, "What did you just
Like,
say?"
yeah, son.
If that's where you call your farts, is you hear that booty.
Oh, man.
Would be fantastic. But it took him like 3 times of saying it before I finally heard the bird in the distance.
Yep.
But
No, you
Speaking
gotta
of-
remember. You gotta remember all that
You
stuff.
do.
Speaking of farts, Ada is
Yes.
just a gas, like just full of gas. And
Yeah.
I love it though. Like every movement that she makes. Oh, and it's not that.
no,
It is.
you've told me before.
It is like a grown man
She's
farting.
a real go-getter.
and
I
I
like
am
it.
so proud of it.
Okay, let me ask you guys this. This is where we're gonna really bond here.
yeah.
What are the rules? So like what are the rules on like in-house farting as a dad? Like I think
I just let it rip.
no shit.
Yeah.
That's what I do. And
Hopefully, no shit.
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
All fart, no shit.
Yeah.
No, and it's like because like there's literally we had books, you know, that there's a book that's like everyone, I think it's everyone poops.
Everyone Poops.
Everyone
Yeah.
poops. There's another one that's about it's called The Gas We Pass. Great, truly a really funny, good, genuinely good children's book,
Yeah.
and it actually teaches like, oh, if you eat meat, then this is why your farts stink. If you eat beans and grass,
It
this is
talks about the science of
so,
it. Yeah.
but it talks about animals farting. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
here's a meat-eating lion, and his
Yeah.
farts are stinky. Here's an elephant that eats grass, and its farts smell nice. Like,
Yes.
and it does this whole thing, and it's like don't hold. It tells you all this stuff. I never have rubbed a kid's book in my wife's face ever before, but. But it like on the 3rd page, it's like, and definitely don't hold it in. That's not good for you. And I'm like, see,
Yep. Yep.
Told you.
I told you. But
I grew up with my dad just letting it rip.
you gotta just let it rip, man.
And then I just let it rip, and I let it rip in front of my friends. My friends all know I'm a gassy dude.
Attaboy.
I don't care.
Attaboy.
Even at work, I'll just
Okay,
be.
now
we'll
that's too far.
No.
That's too far.
You work in an office by yourself, so you're good
I,
at all.
true. That's
I am
true.
the partner and operations manager. I can do whatever I want at that place. And I have the entire team
It's my company.
The
I can
entire
fart
team.
if I want to.
around the conference table, and I just.
In the meeting? Oh, you've taken so here's
Justin.
you've taken it way farther than I ever did.
man.
You're a modern American hero, is what you are.
Dude, if I had to leave to go
icon.
fart, I would have to leave like every 5 minutes. I apologize.
your diet?
The one I get in trouble for is so my 5-year-old runs into bed, like they come downstairs and she runs and jumps into bed and she's always like, she always jumps in on mom's side and she's always like, I'm always like, hey, what's a brother got to do around here to get like some cuddles, man? Like,
Yeah.
good morning, hello, dad's
Yeah.
over here too. And she's like, oh, your side's stinky, you're always farting. And it's like not. I mean, yes, I am farting, but like, no, it's not. I don't eat a lot of meat. We don't eat a lot of meat in our house. So
Yeah.
like, it's exactly like the book says.
Yeah.
They're not stinky.
I eat a lot of protein,
Oh, okay.
a lot of meat, but a lot of protein.
So you clear out the conference room.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I feel like there's some sort of lawsuit coming. Is that workman's? Can you get workman's comp
don't
for,
know.
Workman's
for
comp for
smell?
it stings the nostrils. I'm not gonna lie, it smells like pure gasoline.
Pure gasoline, man. It's like a
No,
Oh
Indian
man,
food.
yeah, I
but
probably
how
could
can
get
you-
in trouble, but who cares? I love everybody there. Everybody loves me.
That's
We're-
good.
Well,
There
it's
you go.
because they have to love you.
Yeah, you just made it clear that they don't have a choice. But what's interesting is like how do you stop yourself from farting when you're sleeping? Like that's
It's
I don't
not
know.
on me.
Oh,
Like, it's
no.
not my fault,
Yeah.
honey.
Yeah.
Like don't get mad at me.
Yeah, I try my
5-year-old child understand
yeah,
humanity
come
better.
on.
What's wrong with you?
Justin,
Well,
should we start wrapping down the
Let's
episode?
please wrap it
Not
up.
surprised that the guy who does podcasts and radio shows
sorry.
all day is good at talking.
Sorry.
Anyway,
All right, sorry.
how we end all of our episodes, which you've listened to a couple now, is we ask the same 5 questions.
All right.
And this is the filler.
I'm
That's
not-
Justin.
I'm not
I got
prepared.
it. You,
Yes.
you don't need a filler.
I'm
Come
not,
on.
I'm not prepared for this.
All right.
I did not plan.
So
You have the answers written on the inside. Yeah.
you have 2 girls.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Did you have any backup names for them? Did you think that you were gonna have a boy at any point?
So we never found out for either of them.
Okay.
The first one is a hilarious story. The second one was far more boring. We had a boy name for Bennett when she was born. If it was going to be a girl, we had a boy name picked out. We barely had the girl name picked out when our first was born because we went into labor. She went into labor, I should say.
Yeah.
She goes into labor and we're in the hospital and we're about 10 or 12 hours in. And we had just kind of settled on a name for a girl, like literally like the night before or like the morning before, where we had to truly do like write down the names of your top 10. We're going to take the top 5 for each and we're going to limit, like we had to do this whole thing because we could not pick out a name.
Yeah.
Did not have a boy name. So didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. And I remember, I'll never forget the doctor. So we had to go do an emergency C-section. So I look at the doctor. I'm like, all right, I don't know what this means. Like, does this happen? Is this like an hour from now? Is this 2 hours from now? Like, what does this mean? She's like, no, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna come back and we're gonna get the baby out. And I was like, okay, I need to go tell the family that's downstairs that this is happening. And they hand me the blue hat and the pink hat. So they're getting my wife ready for surgery to go in and do the C-section. And I have to wait in like the hallway by the elevators. Yeah. And I thought all along it was a girl. Mm-hmm. I was right. Obviously I'm dad. So I put the pink hat on, but I'm sitting there watching them wheel her down the hallway away from me into the OR. And I literally had this moment of like, if it's a boy, what do I tell my family? Because we had not picked out a name.
Yeah.
Now, as I have now learned, plenty of people don't have names for kids when the kids are born.
Yeah.
It's very normal. It's not that big a deal. I was panicked, though, because like there are 15 people downstairs. And so, no, long story short, not only did we not have a backup name, we didn't have a boy name. If it had been a boy, it was a girl. Her name was Marin. That was it. We had settled on it literally like not even 18 hours earlier than the morning before. Yeah. It was one of the hardest processes that we went through in the entire process.
What about for your second kid?
Yeah, we kind of settled on Bennett for a girl pretty early, and then had a backup name if it was a boy.
Okay,
and if she was a boy, I guess you have to stop calling it after they're born. I guess.
I guess so.
But so that one we were prepared for. But then again, that whole thing we were prepared. Like the whole we organized the time of the C-section.
Yeah.
For like Tuesday morning at 7:30 so that I could cover the Preds playoff games on Tuesday and Thursday night and knew that she was going to get discharged on Friday.
Yeah.
And so that and then I was going to take the next week off.
Yeah.
So everything was like chaos the first one. Everything was like perfectly organized the second one.
Second kid, man.
Exactly,
that could be
exactly
an entire podcast. Next question. Do you have a favorite TV dad?
Favorite TV dad?
Yeah.
Wow. I have to think about that one. The terrible thing is not terrible. The first name that comes to mind is Bandit, of course.
Yeah, common answer.
As a kid show, if you're asking me about like me personally,
yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
whatever.
Oh my god. Now I'm trying to think of all the shows that I watched. I mean, like Uncle Phil's pretty. Is he a dad? He doesn't count.
Father figure.
Father figure.
We will allow father
Uncle
figures.
Phil's up there. I'm gonna.
Well, I mean, hell, he was a dad to Carlton
and the rest of them.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Like that's what a wild. I've never thought about that. The kids show one is absolutely
It's Bandit without question.
What's that, party people? It's by far the best one.
It's the standard we can all never live up to.
No one, and it's unrealistic what they do. The number of games you people play, you Australian dogs play with your kids. No one can play that many games.
No one.
And commit to the bit the whole time.
Who has the time and how do they get paid?
Like all the neighbors are in on the game too all the time?
Yeah. Lucky's dad. Lucky's dad.
His name's
what?
Pat.
No, yeah.
His name's
it's
what?
Lucky's
His name's
dad.
Pat.
Oh, his name's Pat.
It's past the parcel is whenever you finally find out Lucky's
Past the
dad's
parcel.
name.
Lucky's
We're
dad.
raising a nation of squibs.
I couldn't philosophically and politically agree more with Lucky's dad and how to play past the parcel. Like
It is so funny. I related to him way too much.
You can't all get a present.
No, we all do it. Oh man, and then
No, you can't all get presents.
It's only so
Then
funny.
it's not a
'cause
game.
I can imagine myself doing the same thing. It's like, no, it's only one kid wins. It's fine. And then watching every kid lose their mind and know you're responsible.
Get out of here. Get back to Angola.
Yeah.
Get back to work.
Yeah.
That's a good. Now I'm gonna go home and like write down all the TV dads that I messed up and forgot to mention.
We need to do a poll.
I've thought about doing going back.
Well, who are yours?
Yeah.
TV dad that's not your kid's TV dad.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So
give me a
whenever I do
favorite.
it, the one that always comes top of head is Homer Simpson.
Oh, duh.
Because it's what I was raised on The
Yeah, I
Simpsons.
should have known.
So it's fine.
Well, then it's got to be Randy from South Park. hot.
Oh, who is it? Okay, the best answer still.
See, you inspired me to get right to the one I wanted.
Yeah, there you go. As Joe Willis's was Frank from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
That is
That's
such
a
a
good one.
that is a
good,
great
because
one.
of
That's a
all
really
the
good one.
answers for Joe Willis to say that he's a massive It's Always Sunny fan was pretty
It's always
funny to
sunny.
me.
Yes,
We're
that
watching.
is
We just
awesome.
finished Curb, so I don't
Yeah.
think Larry David's got kids. But otherwise, Larry David is
Oh
the
my
most
God.
perfect dad of all dads
Yep.
because everything he does is like a dad thing.
Pretty much.
Clark Griswold.
Yeah, that's
That's up
a
there.
good. Yeah,
That's
that
a good one.
lines up with you a lot.
That one, it would be so awesome to be like him when I'm older.
Randy Marsh, baby, that's my guy.
That's awesome.
my
We'll
guy.
change- Randy Marsh, great answer.
All right, next question. Least favorite kids show?
So I know there's some redeeming qualities, but I don't know why I hate Paw Patrol so much. I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like it at all. All the
We
ones
have
that
yet to get into that one.
thank goodness, do you know how toys just sort of sometimes mysteriously disappear?
Yeah.
They end up on the top shelf for about a month in my house, and if no one asks about it, they meet an untimely end.
Yes.
Paw Patrol, I would specifically not put it on. I was like, I can't watch this.
Yeah.
This is such a waste of government resources. No, I couldn't. I can't stand it. I don't know why. And it actually has like good positive messaging and stuff.
It's all problem solving.
Yeah,
it's
it's
fine.
not. I don't know why. I can't. It drives me up a wall, so I can't watch it. But it's the worst one is like the bad animated ones on like Netflix and Disney, where it's like I think there's a Barbie one that's really bad, and it's like this isn't even good animation.
Yeah.
Like you haven't even like put in the effort here. It's terrible everything. It's bad writing. It's bad this. It's bad messaging. It's not good for it's just bad. The Barbie one, and I don't remember what streaming service it's on.
It's on Netflix.
If it's on Netflix, it's
Yeah.
so
It's on
effing
Netflix.
bad.
I'm guessing
very
you
aware
have
of
to
it.
watch
It's
it
Not
quite
too
a bit.
so
often.
effing bad.
Not too often, but
Like it's
every once in a while, yeah.
There is zero redeeming
You
qualities to
know
that
what?
one.
If somebody would make some type of app or something on the for Netflix, for Disney, to where you could remove movies or TV
yeah.
shows from those apps, you'd make so much money.
I think it's
dads
Isn't it called
and parents.
parental controls?
But
I think
not
it's
not
based off
like
of rating, not
yeah,
personal
that's
preference.
not
Okay.
personal
Okay.
preference.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll say King Julian on Netflix, which has won like Emmys,
Okay.
is up there with Bluey. Bluey and King Julian are
Okay.
my two favorites. King Julian is the lemur king from Madagascar.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And he's got
okay.
a 3-season or 4-season run on Netflix, and they won like 4 Emmys.
Okay.
And it
Interesting.
is
Okay.
it is laugh out loud adult funny the way we all laugh at Bluey shows.
Yeah.
It is
Nice.
so funny, and the kids like it. Bluey and King Julian. If you can get your kids on those two,
Yep.
King
you're good to go.
Julian.
Next question.
All right.
Favorite kids toy? Like whenever your daughters play with it, you actually enjoy playing with it.
I mean,
also.
it's hard for me not to pick Legos because it was like my favorite
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
toy.
It's a common
a good
answer,
one.
man. Legos are fun.
Yeah.
You know what? This is kind of a weird answer, but like my wife and I went and got bikes
yeah.
for the first time as adults. Like the first time I've ridden a bike in probably 30 years was after I taught both of my kids to ride bikes during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And like, so I don't know if that counts or not, but like as soon as they
Activity
could,
Yeah,
counts.
that's
Activity
as soon
counts,
as they could ride bikes, we were like, oh, we want to do this.
That's awesome.
That's fun.
And we went and bought bikes, and now like that's one of the things we do on like Saturdays or Sundays is we go down to the park and we ride bikes on a big loop through Shelby Bottoms, and it's like, so that one's kind of a cop out answer because it's like fun for me. Anything Lego related is good. I'm down with that. I like colored pencils a lot more than I expected. I know they have adult coloring books and stuff, so I've really enjoyed that aspect. Both my daughters love coloring. Although I do think markers are created out of like they are the spawn of Satan.
yeah.
I hate markers. They are terrible.
Nope.
in
It's always,
general.
whenever my two older or my girls will be using markers, and then my 2.5-year-old will find the marker bin. I'm like,
God.
no, not you, not you,
No.
not you, not you, not you, not you. And then he'll scream because I just took an entire thing of toys away from him, basically.
Well,
and then
and
the girls are also like, why'd you take that away? And I'm like, because it's going to get everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
It's funny because like my wife and I had that debate for so many years, and then every school teacher's like, "No, markers are terrible," and I'm like, "See, honey, I told you. I told you so."
Ada does really well with markers.
Just
We
wait.
do not have. Yeah, I guess.
It's not polite to brag.
Well, too bad.
Yeah. What about you? What are your favorite toys? Yeah, I think now I'm sure I'm missing something.
Right, right now, mine is the Magnetiles with the Marble Run.
Yeah, Marble
Dude,
Run is super fun.
the Magnetiles are cool.
So much fun.
That's something we never had. You can build so much cool stuff out of those Magnetiles.
Roller
It's like Legos
coasters.
without the hurt feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like those. Those are cool.
All right. Last question. Moment of your kid's life you are most excited to be a part of.
I'm assuming everybody goes a little cheesy with this stuff. But we do a really good job of like looking at each other, my wife and I, of looking at each other and being like, did you lock that one away? And it's all about like these visuals we get from the kids. There's a certain moment where like we're laying in bed and like we can like her head, one of them's head will like creep out from around the side of the stairs, like real weird. And she'll have on like glasses and a wig. and Haley will look over at me and she'll be like, I hope you remember that one the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know, so we do a lot of that, which is not the answer to your question. So my late father-in-law always said that he didn't want to raise kids that he wanted to be friends with. He wanted to raise adults that he wanted to be friends with.
Yeah.
And so I think anything that has to do with them becoming what they want to become, if it's a job opportunity, if it's a move, if it's a relationship, if it's whatever it might be, where I get to share in their life because we've hopefully raised the person we enjoy being around.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kind and thoughtful and caring, but like gets to do something that they love. Like I've coached their soccer and softball teams, so I love watching that stuff. Like it's my favorite in the world. But honestly, there'll be an adult moment, and I don't know what it is, but there'll be an adult moment where it will be like it was the whole point of the parenting is, again, as my father-in-law would say, I want to raise kids that I want to be around when they're adults. And your job is not to be their friend when they're a kid, but man, it sure would be fun to have them as like not friends, but somebody that you can share stuff with when they're that age. Yeah. So again, I think it's probably something along the lines of whatever it is, some kind of career accomplishment, some kind of job opportunity that you realized or that you took or that you got. And to be able to say, like, because I've been very lucky to do what I took my love of sports as a kid and turned it into a career. So I kind of know what that feels like. And so hopefully I get to share that with them when they're older. And if that's what we're doing here for 20 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars, then it'll have been worth it. So
now I think as a grown up or as a parent, you kind of assess risk at all times and you hope that the risk is worth it. And it's like that interesting hope with your child to watch how they assess risk and their identity around it, and if they will take the jump and if it'll be successful or not. Because I know most of the things that like you become proud of are because you took a risk and it became worth something. And like I'm almost like hopeful for those moments with my kids, and that hopefully they'll let me be a part of it with them.
Yeah.
So
and it's almost always worth taking.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, outside of like extremely dangerous, like you're going to go into like the military or something.
Yeah.
Almost always, whether it's professional, whether it's relationship, whether it's work, business. I mean, sure, you can be kind of conservative on your financial situation. Like everybody's different, but almost always in this world, it's worth taking the risk. Yeah. Because the downside is just never going to outweigh the upside in general. And not to go back to the social media thing, but I do think we're way too cautious with our kids in real life, like across the board. We're way too careful with them in real life. They're so much more indestructible. Get out there. They're fine. There's no danger. People aren't abducting children.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Like we're not careful enough with them online. Yeah. We're too careful with them in real life.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And we need to be less careful with them in real life and more careful with them online. Yeah. And that means sort of encouraging taking risks like, hey, go make that friend or go try that sport or go do that thing or whatever. Did I answer any of your questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, has anyone ever, I just
feel like I rattled off a bunch of garbage.
We're all vibe, bro. Anyway.
I'm not cool enough to use that sentence.
Yeah, I'm not either. We're all done. Okay, so here's the last moment for you. All right. Self-promotion. If we want to follow you, like podcast, promote yourself basically.
Sure. Well, 440 Sports is kind of the name across YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, get off social media, but follow us. But if you care about the I don't know if I can do this all at one time.
Yeah, you have a lot of
if
stuff.
If you care about the Nashville Predators, the Gold Standard podcast, Emma Lingen, Michael Gallagher do a great job with myself. Club and Country, if you care about Nashville SC, we got Wes Bowling and Tim Sullivan. We have a football show that covers the Titans, which is live on YouTube Mondays and Thursdays. We've got a bunch of Titan stuff. So Hot Read Podcast, Music City Audible, Paul Kaharski podcast is on our network as well.
Okay.
SEC Football Live is our SEC football product. Also on the YouTube page, we have a show called Lamestream Sports, which is all about Nashville media, sports, and business. And then Pod Bless Nashville, if you care about stuff outside of sports. Yeah. That is myself and Jamie Holland, who is an attorney and a lobbyist. And we try to, I don't know, that show kind of came around because we didn't think anybody else was doing it. And I'm looking for news about our government and our city and our community. And I thought, hey, we could do that.
That's right.
And so Pod Bless Nashville, PBN, as we call it. All these shows across the 440 Sports Network. You can catch most of them on YouTube, but also just anywhere your podcasts are found. So thank you for the opportunity to promote it all.
Yeah. And thanks for coming on and rambling with us about life and dad life.
I've made an entire career of monetizing rambling. So thank you for having me. Seriously, thank you for having me. I feel like I've finally made it.
You've arrived. Thanks, Braden. Thanks again for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Nashville Dads and to subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify podcast. We record at New Light Podcast Studio and episodes are produced by me, Devin.